Ever dream of building a team like so ridiculously talented, so in sync, it's like they're reading each other's
Yeah,
minds?
like a well-oiled machine.
Exactly. Today we're diving deep with Mike Stromsoe. This guy, he's cracked the code on building those unstoppable businesses, and it all starts with the people.
He's all about attracting those top-tier players.
Yeah,
Not just filling positions, but igniting a movement.
you got it. And whether you're running a company, leading a team, or just, want up your own game, Stromsoe's insights, they're like gold. Trust me.
What fascinates me about Stromsoe is he doesn't just talk about the how of hiring. He goes deeper, like decodes the DNA of what makes a high achiever tick.
It's almost like he's saying, forget the resume for a second. First, understand the soul of the person you want to attract.
Exactly. It's like what makes them jump out of bed in the morning, what makes them passionate.
Okay, let's unpack that. Before we even think about interviews or job offers, Stromsoe says, step one, we need to understand what drives these top performers. And it's got to be more than just a big paycheck, right?
Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. Stromsoe would be the first to say fair compensation is critical. It's the baseline, but it's not the end game.
It's like that saying, money talks, but it doesn't always inspire.
Nailed it. He actually uses this analogy.
Yeah.
He's like, trying to attract top talent without understanding their inner drive is like trying to sell a Ferrari without knowing if your customer values speed, luxury, or both. Like you might have an amazing product, but are you speaking their language?
So what is the language of high achievers? What are they really craving?
Well, Stromsoe, he lays out 5 key motivators. And I think the way he describes them, it really captures the essence of this. He says top performers, they crave a mission, tangible results, they've obviously got the skills, but also those less tangible attributes, and the big one, heart.
It's like a recipe. You need all 5 ingredients to create that player magic.
Exactly. And the mission part is huge.
Mm.
These aren't the type of people who are just clocking in and out. They want their work to mean something. They want to make a dent in the universe.
I can definitely relate to that. Feeling like you're part of something bigger.
Right. And Stromsoe, he uses this great analogy to illustrate this. He says, imagine joining a company and feeling like you're not just building a widget, you're building a cathedral. That sense of purpose, that's essential to attracting these top performers.
Okay, I get that, wanting to feel that sense of purpose, but how do you actually create that feeling? Is it just about having a really inspiring mission statement on your website?
It's got to be more than just words on a page, right?
Yeah.
It has to be woven into the company's very fabric, the DNA of the organization.
It's got to be authentic.
100%. Think of a company like, say, Patagonia. They're known for their commitment to environmental sustainability. And it's more than just a marketing ploy. It's at the core of their identity.
And that resonates with people. You can feel the authenticity radiating off them.
That's what attracts people who are passionate about those same values. They're like, I want to be a part of that.
That makes sense. But let's be real. Not every company is out there saving the planet. How can a business with a more, shall we say, everyday mission still tap into that desire for purpose?
That's where getting crystal clear on the impact of the work comes in. Stromsoe, he really emphasizes this point, connecting even the most seemingly mundane tasks to a larger goal.
So it's about painting that bigger picture, showing how their work fits into the grand scheme of things.
Exactly. For example, let's say you're a software company. Instead of just telling your developers, hey, go write some code, you emphasize how their work directly contributes to, say, making people's lives easier, connecting people, or making businesses more efficient.
No more code monkeys in the basement, right? They're digital architects building the future.
Love it. And that ties into the next point, which is tangible results. Top performers, they're driven by achievement. They thrive on seeing how their work makes a difference.
They want to win, and they want to know they played a part in that win.
Think about it. If you're someone who's used to crushing goals, you're not going to be satisfied in an environment where success is poorly defined or like everything's just kind of meh.
They need those wins to fuel their fire. Okay, that makes sense. But what of the skills part? Isn't that kind of a given? Like if you're hiring a brain surgeon, you obviously want someone who knows their way around a scalpel.
Of course. Having the right skills, that's like the price of entry, right? But Stromsoe argues, and I totally agree with him, it's not enough to just like tick off skills on a checklist.
There's got to be more to it than that.
Exactly. He calls this next layer attributes. It's like, think of it as the difference between being able to play the piano and being a true musician.
Yeah.
You can have all the technical proficiency in the world.
But without the soul, the passion.
You got it. Without the right attitude, the work ethic, that intangible it factor,
Yeah.
you're not going to reach your full potential.
So you could have two candidates with identical resumes, same skills, same experience, but one of them just has that extra something that makes them stand out.
That's the it factor.
It's about finding the right fit, right? Not just the right credentials.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Stromsoe, he tells this great story that really illustrates this point. He was telling me about a time he was hiring for a leadership position. And he meets with this candidate, stellar track record, all the right credentials, the whole package. But something just felt a little off.
I've been in those interviews. You can just feel it sometimes.
Exactly. So Stromsoe, he's going through the interview, and he notices this pattern. Every time he asks the candidate about a success, they deflect credit to their team.
Which on the surface sounds like a great quality, right? Humility, teamwork.
Right. Seems like a model employee.
So what was the issue?
Well, as he dug a little deeper, Stromsoe realized this candidate was actually deeply uncomfortable with being in the spotlight. They were a brilliant strategist, don't get me wrong, but they didn't have that natural leadership presence that was essential for this particular role.
They weren't comfortable being the conductor, even if they were a great musician.
Exactly. They ended up hiring someone else who was equally qualified, but also had that innate ability to inspire and motivate others to be the face of the team.
It's like that saying, the right person in the right seat. Sometimes, even with all the talent in the world, if the fit isn't right, it's just not going to work.
It's like they were meant for a different orchestra.
Yeah.
But that brings us to, I think, Stromsoe's most fascinating point, that final ingredient, heart. He makes this really intriguing distinction between what he calls, this is great, patriots and mercenaries.
Okay, before we go any further, I'm hoping we're not talking about actual soldiers here.
No, not in the office, at least. Unless it's casual Friday. Then
Right.
maybe some camo is acceptable.
Exactly. Casual Friday, anything goes. But seriously, what's he getting at with this whole patriot versus mercenary thing?
So he uses those terms metaphorically, right, to describe two different types of employees. Patriots, they're the ones who are all in on the company's mission. They're passionate, they're invested in its success. Mercenaries, on the other hand, they're primarily motivated by the paycheck. They're talented, they'll get the job done, but their heart's not really in it.
Okay, I'm getting major sports team loyalty vibes from this.
Oh, tell me more about that. I love a good analogy.
All right, so the Patriots, they're like the diehard fans, right? The ones who bleed team colors, who are there for every game, cheering their hearts out. Mercenaries, they're more like the free agents, just signed the biggest contract. They're there for the game, but maybe not the whole season. It's passion versus just showing up.
That's such a spot-on analogy. Yeah. And Stromsoe's point is, when you're building a team of top performers, you want those diehards. You want the people who are going above and beyond, who bring that extra level of dedication and enthusiasm.
Because that passion, it's contagious, right? It inspires everyone around them to step up their game.
100%. But how do you actually spot that patriot spirit in an interview? It seems like one of those things that's hard to gauge from a resume or even a few interview questions.
Yeah, you can't just put bleeds company colors as a skill on LinkedIn, although that would be kind of amazing.
Right. Maybe a new LinkedIn feature. We'll pitch it to him. But in the meantime, Stromsoe suggests looking for clues in their career trajectory. Like, have they stuck with companies for longer periods, even when other opportunities came knocking? Did they seem genuinely excited about past projects, even if they weren't the most glamorous or high profile? Those are good signs.
It's about reading between the lines, looking for signs of loyalty and genuine enthusiasm.
It's like dating. You're trying to figure out if they're just in it for a fling or if they're looking for something real, something meaningful.
Ooh, I like that analogy.
Yeah.
And just like dating, attracting top talent is a two-way street. You got to make your company irresistible to these high achievers.
You got to bring your A game to the courtship.
Exactly. So how do we do that? How do we make our companies the catch in the talent pool? Give us the secrets to becoming the George Clooney of the job market.
I think Stromsoe would say it's less about being George Clooney and more about being Amal Clooney.
Ooh, I like where you're going with this.
It's about substance, not just surface level charm, It's about appealing to their intellect, their values, their ambition.
Because at the end of the day, they want to be part of something that matters, right?
Exactly. And Stromsoe outlines 5 key things that top performers are looking for in a company. A strong sense of belonging within the company culture, meaty challenges that allow them to really use their skills, a clear path for growth and advancement, a commitment to their personal and professional development, and yes, even them all's got to pay the bills, so competitive compensation and benefits.
Okay, so all of that makes perfect sense, but I think a lot of companies already think they offer those things, even if it's not always the reality. So how do you cut through the noise and actually convince people, hey, we're the real deal?
It's about showing, not just telling. Like with company culture. Instead of just slapping a line on your website that says, we're a fun, collaborative team, show it. Share videos of team events, employee testimonials, give them a behind-the-scenes look at a typical day in the office.
Yes, let them picture themselves being a part of that. Like, man, I'm missing out on all the fun.
Right. Create that FOMO. And when it comes to challenges and growth opportunities, be specific. Instead of just a generic job title and description, highlight a recent project that your team crushed, a problem you solved, or an ambitious goal you're working towards.
It's like saying, hey, want to be part of something big? This could be you.
You got it.
Yeah.
Tap into their ambition, that desire to make a real impact. And don't forget about the growth and development piece. Top performers, they're always looking to level up their skills, expand their knowledge. So highlight any professional development opportunities you offer, mentorship programs, or even just a culture of continuous learning.
It shows them that you're invested in their future, not just treating them like another cog in the machine.
Exactly. And you know what? When you do that, the money part, it almost takes care of itself. Because when talented people feel valued, when they're excited about the work, when they love the people they work with, they're much less likely to jump ship just for a slightly bigger paycheck.
It's about building a relationship, right? A sense of loyalty and mutual respect.
100%.
Yeah.
You're not just filling a position, you're inviting them to join a movement. But even with the most amazing company culture, a stack of exciting projects, you still have to find these A players. And this is where Stromsoe gets really interesting. He says, you got to look beyond the usual suspects.
Okay, so you're saying ditch the job boards, go full on off the grid with our recruiting.
Well, not entirely. Job boards have their place. But Stromsoe argues that they often attract people who are actively looking for a change. And those might not be the people who are absolutely killing it in their current roles. The real gems, he says, they're often hidden in plain sight.
Okay, now you've got me really intrigued. Where do we find these hidden gems? Should we be hanging out at TED Talks, lurking on industry forums?
You could. But Stromsoe's approach is a little more strategic. And it all starts with, you ready for this, your existing network.
Ah, the power of connections.
He's a huge believer in referrals. And get this, he calls it the rule of 100.
The rule of 100. Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more.
So he says, think about it. Every single person you know knows 100 other people.
Okay, yeah, that's like a lot of people. It's like that whole 6 degrees of separation thing, but applied to talent acquisition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And within those networks, there are bound to be some incredible people who would be a perfect fit for your team. You just got to find them.
It's like unlocking a secret level in a video game. But instead of finding hidden treasure, you're finding hidden talent. So how do we tap into that network? Do we just start spamming our LinkedIn connections with job postings?
You could try that, but I think Stromsoe would recommend a more, shall we say, nuanced approach.
Subtlety is key.
Exactly. He recommends regularly reminding your network, your colleagues, past clients, even friends and family, that you're always on the lookout for talented people.
Just casually slip it into conversation. Oh, by the way, I'm building an amazing team. Know anyone awesome?
Exactly. Keep those lines of communication open. Let them know you're building something special. And here's a pro tip. Make it easy for them to refer you. Create a simple referral system. Maybe even offer a little incentive for successful hires.
Like a finder's fee for talent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And most importantly, be crystal clear about the kind of candidates you're looking for. Don't just say, oh, we're looking for a rock star developer, right? Be specific about the skills, the experience, the kind of personality that would thrive in your company culture.
Give them the inside scoop so they know exactly who to send your way.
Exactly. And you know what? Here's another curveball Stromsoe throws. He's a huge advocate for using video. And not just for showcasing your company culture. He says use it in the application process too.
Interesting. So like instead of just submitting a resume, candidates could submit a short video introducing themselves.
Exactly. It's about adding that personal touch, letting candidates showcase their personality and enthusiasm in a way that a traditional cover letter just can't capture. It's like dating, but instead of meeting for coffee, you're getting a glimpse into their world through video.
I love that. It's a chance to see if there's that initial spark, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for the candidate, It's a way to stand out from the crowd, to show that they're not afraid to be creative, put themselves out there.
It takes guts to put yourself out there on video, so you know they're at least a little bit brave, right?
Exactly. All right, so we've ditched the generic job postings. We've tapped into our network of super recruiters. We're using the power of video. We found our potential A players, and now it's time for the main event, the interview.
This is where magic happens, or it doesn't.
Exactly. And Stromsoe, he really emphasizes this point. The interview, it shouldn't feel like an interrogation, you know? It's more about creating a conversation, a genuine exchange of ideas.
It's a two-way street. They're interviewing us just as much as we're interviewing them.
Exactly. They want to see if we're a good fit for them. So the question is, how do you create that environment, that space for authentic connection, while also making sure you're assessing their skills and selling them on the opportunity?
Because it is a delicate balance, right? You don't want to come across as too formal, too corporate, but you also don't want it to be like a free-for-all.
Exactly. So Stromsoe, he recommends this two-pronged approach. First, he's a big believer in structure.
So no more winging it with random questions about their favorite color or what they had for breakfast.
Well, a little spontaneity can be fun,
Mm-hmm.
but Stromsoe believes in having a set of core questions that you ask every candidate for a particular role.
So you're comparing apples to apples, making sure you're covering all the bases.
Exactly. But, and this is key, those questions shouldn't feel like a robotic checklist. Stromsoe encourages interviewers to use those core questions as jumping-off points for a more organic conversation.
So it's less about getting the right answers and more about understanding their thought process, how they approach challenges, how they think on their feet.
Precisely. And that's where the second part of Stromsoe's approach comes in, active listening. He says the best interviewers, they're not just good at asking the questions, they're even better at listening to the answers.
Because sometimes it's not what they say, it's how they say it, right?
Exactly. Their energy, their body language, you can tell a lot about a person just by really paying attention to those cues.
It's about going beyond the script and really trying to connect with the human being on the other side of the table.
100%. And
Right.
sometimes those off-script moments, those are the ones that tell you the most. You know, like ask a question that's not directly related to the job description, but reveals something about their character, their values.
Ooh, like a curveball question.
Uh,
I love those. Like, if you could have dinner with any three historical figures, who would you choose and why? It's amazing what people come up with.
right. It's a window into their passions, their sense of humor, their intellectual curiosity.
It's like, surprise, now you're on the spot. Let's see what you're made of.
I love it. One of my favorite questions to ask is, tell me about a time you failed and what you learned from that experience.
Ooh, that's a good one. It takes humility to admit to failure, and it shows that they're willing to learn and grow.
Exactly. Because nobody's perfect, right? We all make mistakes. It's about how we learn and grow from those experiences.
It's about that growth mindset. And speaking of growth, Stromsoe also talks about incorporating assessments into the interview process, right? Like personality tests, skills assessments, that kind of thing.
He does. He's a big proponent of using those, but with a caveat. He's not talking about those generic personality tests that everyone loves to hate. It's about finding assessments that are tailored to the specific role and the company's culture.
So it's about getting a more complete picture of the candidate, one that goes beyond just their resume and their interview answers.
Exactly. It's about digging deeper, getting a sense of the work style, their strengths, their areas for growth. It helps you make sure it's a good fit for everyone involved.
This has been so eye-opening. We've covered so much ground. From decoding the A-player DNA to crafting irresistible job descriptions, networking like secret agents, and even adding a touch of Hollywood to the interview process. But, as I was reflecting on all of this, it made me think about something Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, often talks about, the regret minimization framework.
Now that's an interesting connection. How do you see that applying here?
Well, Bezos's framework is all about making decisions that you won't regret later in life, right? It's about projecting yourself into the future and asking yourself, if I don't take this risk, if I don't seize this opportunity, will I regret it? And I think that same principle absolutely applies to building a team.
It's about playing the long game, right?
Yeah.
Making choices today that set you up for success and fulfillment down the road.
Exactly. Because if you rush the hiring process, if you settle for a good enough candidate instead of holding out for that true A player, you might kick yourself later.
Oh, 100%. And that regret, it can show up in so many ways. Missed opportunities, a dip in team morale, even just a feeling of stagnation, like you're not reaching your full potential.
It's like that saying, hire slow, fire fast.
Mm.
Taking the time to find the right people, the ones who truly align with your mission, your values, it's an investment. And it pays off big time in the long run.
It's not just about filling a position, it's about building something special, something that lasts.
Exactly. It's about creating a legacy, not just checking a box. And that's a pretty inspiring way to think about building a team, I think.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into Mike Stromsoe's wisdom, I want to leave our listeners with this question. Think about your own A team, whether it's the team you're currently building or the dream team you aspire to create. If you fast forward 5, 10, even 20 years from now, what's the one thing you would regret not doing today to make that team truly exceptional? What one small step can you take today to attract those top performers, those A players, who will not only elevate your work but also make the journey just as rewarding as the destination? What a powerful question. It's a call to action for all of us to be more intentional, more strategic, and braver in building the teams of our dreams.
Teams that inspire us, challenge us, and ultimately make coming to work each day feel like an adventure.
Here, I love that.
This has been an incredible conversation, and I want to thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today.
It was my pleasure. I always love a good deep dive into what makes great teams tick.
And to all of you listening, thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope you found it as inspiring and thought-provoking as we have. Until next time, keep dreaming big, keep building those A teams, and keep reaching for those extraordinary heights.